Alright guys, welcome back to Valorant News. Huge development in the North American challenger scene yesterday with G2 getting bodied by Turtle Troop of all teams last night in a crucial game. That's the team that XQC might be picking up today or over the coming days. Did Ludwig and Moist Moguls make a very poor decision with which challenger team they picked up, but also some leaks around the new player that Cloud9 might be signing. Very much enjoyed your thoughts in the comments. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always, I'd greatly appreciate it. First of all, some updates on the Pacific region. Byomjun is gone from T1. Not really sure why they signed this player. They scouted him, never really played him, and now he's been dropped. Pretty unfortunate. They're signing Intro instead in his place, so just some updates over there. But also the Pacific region in general has some updates in terms of the format they will run with for the main Pacific. This is like the actual top tier, the professional league kind of thing, or, you know, the franchise league, partnership league, whatever you want to say, rather than tier 2. The format will be similar, so the 10 teams will play in a single round robin type group setup, and then the top 6 teams will go through to the playoffs, but the top 3 from those playoffs not just qualify for Masters as is NA, but also those top 3 teams qualify for Champions. So I'm not really sure why they vary the format here, because in North America or in the Americas, those 3 teams that qualify for Masters, I don't believe they automatically give themselves qualification for Champions, but in terms of getting enough points and stuff, like a couple of those teams will probably be set up for Champions anyway down the line. But these aren't the only 3 teams that qualify from the Pacific to Champions. There is going to be a last chance qualifier as well. So, you know, a pretty big story, right? The fact that this playoffs in the Pacific region is massive, not just for Masters qualification, but those teams automatically go through to Champions as well. And actually, the playoffs are going to be taking place between March 25th, finishing on May the 28th of this arena in Seoul, South Korea, of course. And this is the setup there for the Pacific schedule, March the 25th to May the 16th for the regular league matches, then the playoffs on May the 19th to the 22nd, and then the next weekend, semi and the grand finals, May 27th and May the 28th in the GenG Arena in South Korea, Seoul. And I believe the capacity there is about 5,000, so that's going to be a banger crowd. I'm absolutely convinced about it. Now, we've got to mention some other drama with teams, really, because, of course, NRG, they've been wondering, who do they practice against? Given that Gecko's now in the game and all the Challengers teams are not playing with Gecko yet, whereas the pros are starting relatively soon in Tier 1 with Gecko in play. So what teams do they practice against? Obviously, Evil Geniuses have something going for them with this whole 10-man setup, because they can actually have a 5-man starting team and a 5-man kind of academy roster, even though it's not really an academy, but it's kind of like their second team, and they can practice those teams against each other, which is an advantage, right? We've seen this in other esports as well, where teams have their pro team, their academy team, and they practice against each other so that they can, well, try all their ideas and strategies without wanting to reveal anything to another organization or another team. So that's one advantage EG do have, but I don't know if EG actually have a 10th man yet. Technically, they wanted Ada, and then they didn't get him, so a bit confusing there whether they actually do have that advantage to their name quite yet, or whether they do any of that kind of 5v5 intra-team stuff, because it's probably worthwhile for them. But last night on stream, it was spotted here from, this is on Tarik's stream, on the top right-hand side, that NRG were practicing against 100 Thieves. So I think this kind of goes to show that these teams are saying, you know what, we've got to bite the bullet here and play against each other within the Tier 1 region. They don't usually do this, right? Like, you know, NRG would prefer to scrim even a Turtle Troop or a G2 or one of these teams from Tier 2 and M80, the guard, for example, to get that practice in. But the issue is that those teams, they don't play with Gecko in the game for several weeks until about the middle of April. And by that time, Tier 1 has already been using for quite some time Gecko in the official competitive play. So they really have to play each other, which isn't ideal either. Now, also to note, though, was this one between Cloud9. So they were playing FaZe in this scrim, and we can see Zeppa, we can see Zelsis, we can see Leaf, but also Nerve is in here. Now, I don't believe we saw the final player in here, but it's got to be said, the last couple of scrim bucks I've seen from Cloud9, they were down like 13-2 in one of them, and obviously this one they're down 5-2 to FaZe. So not ideal, but they are trialing some options here, and it seems every day there's a new player they're trying to bring into this team, and I don't really know if that's a recipe for success at all, but well, they're doing a lot of trials, and they're going to try and figure out which players to sign. They've got a little bit of time, but man, what an absolute mess it is at Cloud9 there. We don't even know who their IGL is going to be, because Vanity's obviously gone, despite the team wanting to keep him, but maybe the organization didn't, or maybe there's other things that we don't know about that situation that might come to light over time, but they need a new IGL. Is that going to be Rooney? Maybe it is. Not Wayne Rooney, unfortunately, as some of you guys thought in the comment section, but R-U-N-I. But also, this is the player Nerve, right? So formerly of Sonics, now on 99 strength, has been playing pretty well lately. His agents generally are Astra, Breach, Viper, Brim, Omen. So, like, again, it's a bit of a flex. He's not, well, at least what I read here, he's not exactly a full-on controller, but you know, I don't know. He seems to be able to use other agents as well, which is just like, honestly, I don't know what Cloud9 are thinking, right? Because their team initially had these problems of too many flex players and all this stuff, right? And we did see some rumors about maybe Logan coming in as a duelist in place of Ye, and now I guess they're looking for an IGL that can also play various roles. It's a tricky situation for them. I wonder what they'll do going forward. Maybe they'll change everything around. Maybe they'll make more changes. I don't know. But Cloud9, for being in such a strong position, are now in an absolute disaster class of a spot. And Marved is also not an option for them, more than likely, because they won't pay enough. And also, he's probably going to go and join Sentinels on their substitute bench. That is the rumor. We've also got to talk, though, about the tier 2 situation, because just yesterday we discussed the rumor that Turtle Troop VALORANT is getting signed to XQC's team. Now, I don't exactly know what XQC is doing in terms of setting up an organization or what it's actually going to be called. Maybe the Juices or something. I guess we'll see about that one. But, you know, XQC signing a VALORANT team, pretty exciting stuff. We talked about it yesterday. That team, we believe, is Turtle Troop that destroyed G2 esports last night. Now, game 1 especially was so, and game 2 also went their way. They won the pistol in the second half, and this series was quickly over. But it's really interesting, the fact that a lot of these guys, we've got obviously XQC is now coming in, but also Ludwig and the Moist Moguls, and then Disguised Toast, right, with his team. I think Disguised Toast did it, obviously, you could say the best way, because he signed those guys before they even qualified, and then they did qualify, which is a great story. But, you know, since he achieved that, now everyone else wants to get in on the act as well, and obviously Ludwig and Moist Moguls, they came up with their ideas and what they were planning to achieve, and they put together the decision to sign the Breakthrough roster, and they could have waited just a little bit longer to see who would win between Breakthrough and Turtle Troop, or who would turn out to be the better team, and it turns out the answer is quite obvious. Quick 2-0 versus G2, we have the juice, as Tig says right here, so, I mean, obviously this is a bit of an XQC reference, so pretty entertaining, and even as Governor says, that was easier than I thought it would be. Special announcement probably tomorrow, so it seems quite excited, so possibly today we're going to get maybe the announcement that XQC might be coming in. Even kind of dapr says XQC buff, O2 versus Turtle Troop, a lot to learn, he says, got straight up juiced in that one, and ShahZaM goes, you know, lost O2 to Turtles, GG well played to them, we've been trying stuff out, but they outplayed us at every point. So yeah, really interesting, right? And I've got to say, this post-game interview from Tig was hilarious, where he says straight up, he looked at all G2's VODs, because they started up 3-0, they had quite close series to go 3-0 in this in the group stages so far, but he reckons they watched their VODs, and he thought, wow, these guys are terrible, how are they winning these series, how are they getting to 3-0, and therefore they were very confident they could win this series, and they did in honestly dominating fashion.
What were your own expectations heading into the match today?
First of all, thank you. You know, we watched the games back, and we honestly think they looked
I have the same headset.
awful. I'm not sure how they're 3-0, but we watched them. We weren't impressed with like any of their maps except Split.
He said, "I'm not sure how they're 3-0."
So
that's a headline.
And that, and we were feeling really confident. We've been feeling really confident in scrims.
I'm like stirring the pot over here.
Everyone. So
I'm literally stirring the pot.
Yeah, we were feeling really confident going into it, and I think it showed.
The overall numbers here, not pretty at all on the G2 side. Game 1 especially, everyone positive on Turtle Troop. Even Ada, who was one of their better players for some time, didn't really have to do that much in this series. They just bowled them over. 13-1 on Fracture, Wedded 18-6, and then Haven 13-7. Not particularly close either. Penny, the only one to have a positive map in the entire series for that particular team. dapr 5-14, didn't have a great time on Haven, and Ascent was not even necessary. So what a team that Turtle Troop are potentially turning out to be, and it's very interesting for Ludwig, right? The fact that he potentially could have signed on Moist Moguls, the guys on Turtle Troop. They had the option there. I was wondering why they didn't sign them, to be honest, but they went for the Breakthrough guys instead, which maybe wasn't a bad decision initially, but as it's turned out, it's not looking so good. Game 2 was the Guard versus Mad Lions. Close series, interesting series, but the Guard eventually too good again. 2-0, pretty close for the fair on the Ascent, 13-9, and then 13-8 on Lotus. So the Guard, again, relatively comfortable, and the overall numbers here are actually insane for not just the Guards, but also for M80 especially, right? M80 are 4-0. So by the way, on the right-hand side here, the groups are now set going into the mid-season playoffs type thing. So the playoffs happen in quite some time, but there's a mid-season event they're doing where the top 4 teams from each group get to go, and Group B is very clear who that's going to be. M80, the Guard, TSM, and Disguised Toast team. Pretty funny, Disguised Toast by a margin. The least maps won, the least rounds won of the teams that are going to go to those kind of mid-season playoffs, but they still get the the job done right. So that 13-2, 13-3 loss they had to M80, not really too relevant at the end of the day when they still made it through regardless. But M80, right, I mean, they've played 4 series. So how, like, what is their theoretical round plus minus? I guess they could have gone 13-0 twice in both their series. That's plus 26. So that's like 4 times. Okay, so I guess 104 is the maximum possible round plus minus you could potentially have here after 4 series. And they're plus 60. I mean, like, it's absolutely insane to think about. If you look at Group A, the team with the most round plus minus is FaZe with plus 16. M80 have plus 60. Like, they've won more than double the maps that they've lost. Like, it's actually, or the rounds that they've lost. It's actually ridiculous. The Guard are in second place. Like, they've got to be the big favorites here in this entire region to make it through to Ascension and win it, right, from the Americas side. TSM disguised host. The other side, though, we've got G2 Esports, FaZe Clan, Turtle Troop, obviously now 2-2, and Moist Moguls, formerly Breakthrough, sitting at 1-2, not in a particularly good spot, right? So there were some options there that maybe made the wrong call, and this is probably going to be XQC's team, if that gets confirmed today, as we might well expect at this point. And just to mention before we close out the video, we're starting to make content again over at the Breaking Point Valorant channel. We're taking a more documentary style approach, so these videos are well researched, well scripted, and voiced over. So if you guys want to check out the one we did on the greatest Valorant comebacks that we've ever seen, of course, though, there was one very recently, just a few days ago at the lock-in event, but also taking a look back at the others. I'll leave it linked in the description box below for you guys to have a quick look at. But very much enjoyed your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. Take care, and I'll see you next time.